Reality never repeats. No, but I'll give you the answer. Buddhism and Tao are two different things. Where drift Buddhism meets the fruition of Tao, the point, drift Buddhism is Arthurianism. There's then a Messiah coordinate that I wrote. All sorcery. Any sorcery I can do. So when they talk about white stuff and whatever else, they're really at their best talking about sorcery, not government. You know, no one gives a fuck about Christianity, quote. Where is it? You know, love is action. But the sorcery context. So, Arthurianism plus explanation, maybe, or grouping, or definition. So, like, you'd have a word, and there's things that would be in a word. To onomatopoeia grade, black spectrum. This is the black spectrum. Meets the white spectrum is the white spectrum. Is the black spectrum meets the black spectrum, sort of thing. So that plus that, Tao and Buddhism makes constitutionality. That plus that gives you the atoms matrix. And basically, we're up in Hasidic terms now, getting close. Different root. But the phrasing, then, because it incorporates holy war and all that, you'll see in a second. It's its own spectrum now. This is your politic, basically. It's very different from what you would think. Only 3% of people's energy ever escapes them. The 0.03% of your energy that is Schadenfreude, government buys that from you in the United States. At least, I can say that. Buys that from you. That's like your crime and stuff like that. Turns it into a whole government. There's a whole thing with natural units where you get back way more than what you put in. That's the part that they want. Because if you go past that, then you're infringing on individuality and all those sorts of things. So that's why it is where it is, sort of thing. So the whole condition associated with the atoms matrix deals with a kind of constitutional unit where they can input or cash out or whatever at any point along the chain. So you don't have to go all the way up into the upstairs, do all this holy work in order to say a simple 1 point. You can just go across the thing. Now, over here on the other side, DS-fill sort of thing, you're dealing with, that's holy over here. This one deals with warrior. And that's your Birdman cult, basically. Where that turns out, so to speak. These are not two different things. They're one thing. So you put them on top of each other, and you understand, because what do you need with warrior is the ability to fight the Antichrist on all fronts. The ability to fight problems-based society. The ability to fight Schadenfreude shit. And so this is citizen. Basically, you make that one thing. So like white landowning male sort of context. That's all that is. And you can do it in your sleep, basically. And that's why everybody's equal in a sense, so long you're not a terrorist. And then that 0.03%, which basically is a dumpster. You need a dumpster if you occur in physical reality, sort of thing. And you can shrink it. It's the thing. As you get taller, this is how you're made tall, sort of thing. You make that one thing, it gets smaller, all the way down to an infinitesimal discard, rather than this conflated, convoluted, statutory illness. And then that's one thing. And so that's constitutionality and constitutional religion, as well as military policy and law policy and interpretation policy and whatever else, all wrapped up into one. Total defeat of conservatism. Again, if you want to be an Orthodox Jew, cool. Everyone loves them. Hasidic Jews, cool. Everyone loves them. If you're doing this anti-Semitic thing over here, being a fake Jew, so to speak, that's where you start to get like your traitors and your problems-based society and your terrorists and all that. Cut the whole thing out. Nothing to do with sexual regulation, has nothing to do with race, has nothing to do with some sort of output, some kind of slavery, some other form of materialistic, militaristic blend of toxin, which is all it boils down to kind of over on that side. They think that that's the extent of the will, that's all a person's capable of, and then feeds their own mental illness off the fact that you don't have clarity any longer, but then phrases everything as attacking mental illness, for sake of health, sort of thing. Oh, we want to dumb you down, And slavery. Everything bad. All in one chunk. 0.03%, and the United States buys that to the point of fruition. And that's a crime. And you get the punishment, sort of thing. And there's the escalation all the way up to treason, which is something that we've reached. When you understand all that and you do it knowingly, which is part of our gang problem going on right now. Again, detailed on the sheet. It's not gangs. It's just the white nationalists. It's just the white trash. They're the only ones that do that. Not making a point. It's not individuality. It's not creativity. It's not any of that. Education. None of it. It's just the simple action of doing that thing, by itself. And that's the correct constitutional interpretation of anything at all religious or mental illness related. And then a stalwart in the Jewish thought, if you want to get down into the framing, for a quick reference, deals with recidivism. How many times something recurs. Because reality doesn't recur. So if you're doing necessary completion, you're doing poo equals pi. It's lightning strikes in one spot once, sort of thing. Not roll the tape. Roll the tape is your third-party judgment, terrorism, Schadenfreude, organized crime, treason, invasion of initial space, unconstitutionality, everything. That's what you can't do in the United States. And that's the total of the Antichrist. So everybody agrees, every society, of getting rid of the Antichrist stuff. And we go the whole way around and it ends up at the white trash shit. And that's why and how. So, if you want something surface level, it deals with no slavery, beyond reductionism was the final conclusion of the Civil War, actually. And it hasn't really moved since then, anything. Actually, I've just been looking at that. Basically, the Albert Pike essays. And we're at the end of those now. So, there's a chance. What was mine? It was beyond singularism. And it's basically just a verification, not a validation, a verification of 1, 2, at 1. Constitutionality. And it has to occur that way because 1 equals 1, or A equals A is the base of logic. Like God is God in clerical logic, holy logic. And that's how you can kind of tell, the way a person is, sort of thing. Their acceptable interior qualities, like Birdman is an acceptable interior set for how to deal with things in holy matters. Whenever you phrase things in terms of God is God, and how the person reacts, are you sitting there at the sky throwing things, going on fake 007 missions, trying to poison people with smallpox blankets and stuff like that. So the government does not obviously support that, ensure that, endorse that. It's the difference between a constitutional religion and some sort of fringe crime. And now there's a line between those things. So that's about as distinct or as separate as you're going to get. All of that retires and they're done. So with the Sorceretic incorporated, that's the end of East-West or North-South or Eastern-Western or Semitic, non-Semitic, or atheistic, monotheistic, or monotheistic, polytheistic, or whatever goes into water, goes into numbers, the whole thing. You just have separate towers and then there's a singular building, sort of thing. It's just a building. So that's the end of all that.